Hi, this is the Black Mormon Reader, and I will be reading verses from the 52nd chapter of Alma. And now it came to pass in the 26th year of the reign of judges over the peoples of Nephi, behold, the Lamanites awoke on the morning of the first month. Behold, they found Amalekah was dead in his own tent, and they also saw that Tecum was ready to give battle to them on that day. Now when the Lamanites saw this, they were frightened, and they abandoned their designs in marching into the land northward, and retreated with all their armies into the city of Molech, and sought protections in their fortifications. And it came to pass that the brother of Amalekah was appointed king over the people, and his name was Amaron. Amaron. Thus King Alma, the brother of King Amalekah, was appointed to reign in his stead. And it came to pass that he did command that his people should maintain those cities which they had taken by the shedding of blood, for they had not taken any city, save they had lost much blood. And now Tecum saw that the Lamanites were determined to maintain those cities which they had taken, and those parts of the land which they had obtained possession of, and also seeing the enormity of their numbers, Tecum thought it was not expedient that he should attempt to attack them in their forts. But he kept his men rounded about, as if making preparations for war. Yea, and truly he was preparing to defend himself against them by casting up walls round about and preparing places of resort. And it came to pass that he kept thus preparing for war until Moroni had sent a large number of men to strengthen his army. And Moroni also sent orders unto him that he should retain all the prisoners who fell into his hands, for the Lamanites had taken many prisoners, that he should retain all the prisoners of the Lamanites as ransom for those whom the Lamanites had taken. And he also sent orders unto him that he should fortify the land bountiful, and secure the narrow path which led into the land northward, lest the Lamanites should obtain that point, and should have power to harass them on every side. And Moroni also sent unto him, desiring to know that he should be faithful in maintaining that quarter of the land, and that he should seek every opportunity to scrounge the Lamanites in that quarter as much as was in his power, that perhaps he might take again by freedom by some other of those cities which had been taken out of the land, that he also would fortify and strengthen the cities around about, which had not fallen into the hands of the Lamanites. And he also said unto them, I would come unto you, but behold, the Lamanites are upon me in the borders of the land by the west sea, and behold, I go not against them, therefore I cannot come unto you. Now the king Amaron had departed out of the land of Zarahemla, and had made known unto the queen concerning the death of his brother, and had gathered together a large number of men, and had marched forth against the Nephites on the borders of the western sea. And thus he was endeavoring to harass the Nephites and draw away a part of their forces that in that part of the land, while he had commanded those whom he had left and to possess the cities which he had not taken, that they should also harass the Nephites on the borders by the east sea, and should take possession of their lands as much as it was in their power according to the powers of their armies. And thus the Nephites, uh, in those dangerous circumstances, in the ending of the 26th year of the reign of judges of the people of Nephi. But behold, it came to pass in the 27th year, 1 year later of the reign of the judges, that Tecum, by the command of Moroni, who had established armies to protect the south, and the west borders of the land, and had begun to march towards the Bountiful, that he might assist Tecum with his men in retaking the cities that they had lost. And it came to pass that Tecum had received orders to make an attack upon the city of Molech, and retake it if it was possible. And it came to pass that Tecum made preparations to make an attack upon the city of Molech, and to march forth with his armies against the Lamanites. But he saw that it was impossible that he could overpower them while they were in their fortifications. Therefore he abandoned his designs, and returned again unto the city of Bountiful, to wait for the coming of Moroni, that he might receive strength to his army. And it came to pass that Moroni did arrive with his army at the land of Bountiful in the latter end of the 27th year of the reign of Judges over the people of Nephi. And in the commencement of the 28th year, and one more year later, Moroni and Tecum and many of the chief captains held their council of war, that they should, but what should they do to cause the Lamanites to come out and to battle with them, or they might by some means flatter them out of their stronghold, that they might gain advantage over them and take the city of Molech. And it came to pass that they sent embassies of their armies to the Lamanites, which protected the city of Molech, to their leaders, whose name was Jacob, desiring him that he would come out with his armies to meet them upon the plains between the two cities. But behold, Jacob, who was a Zoramite, would not come out with his army to meet them upon the plains. And it came to pass that Moroni, having no hope of meeting them upon the fair ground, therefore he resolved upon a plan that might decoy the Lamanites out of their strongholds. Therefore he caused that Tecum should take a small number of men and march down near the seashore, and Moroni and his army by night march in the wilderness on the west of the city, Molech. And thus, on the morrow, when the gods of the Lamanites had discovered Tecum, they ran and told it unto Jacob their leader. And it came to pass that the armies of the Lamanites did march forth against Tecum, supposing by their numbers to overpower Tecum, because of the smallness of his number. And as Tecum saw the army of the Lamanites coming out against him, he began to retreat northward by the seashore, down by the seashore northward. And it came to pass that when the Lamanites saw that he began to flee, they took courage and pursued them with vigor. And while Tecum was thus leading away the Lamanites who were pursuing them in vain, behold, Moroni commanded that part of his army who was with him that they should march forth into the city and take possession of it. And thus they did, and slew all those who had been left to protect the city, yea, all those who would not yield up their weapons of war. And thus Moroni obtained possession of the city of Molech, with the part of the army which he marched with the remainder to meet the Lamanites when they returned from the pursuit of Tecum. And it came to pass that the Lamanites did pursue Tecum until they came near the city of Bountiful, and then they were met by Lehi and a small army which had been left to protect the city of Bountiful. And now behold, when the chief captains of the Lamanites had beheld that Lehi with his army coming against them, they fled in much confusion, lest perhaps they would not obtain the city of Molech before Lehi should overtake them, for they wearied because of their march, and the men of Lehi was refreshed. Now behold, the Lamanites did not know that Moroni had been in the rear with his army, and all they feared was Lehi and his men. Now Lehi was not desirous to overtake them till they should meet Moroni and his army. And it came to pass that before the Lamanites had retreated far, they were surrounded by the Nephites, by the men of Moroni on one hand, the men of Lehi on the other, and all of whom were fresh and full of strength. But the Lamanites were weary because of their long march. Here we'll stop until we pick it up next time. This is the Black Mormon Reader.